Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It's Militiaman and Crew here on the 10th of June, and we're going to get started. I just want to thank everybody for being with us at patreon.com /Militiaman and Crew. We welcome everybody, and the news has been on fire. Samson, our news hound, has been just kicking it all week long, and there's plenty of information in our forum and in our Discord chat room, okay, with Militiaman. Okay, you will start with the transfer of 2 billion dinars, is the article. Parliamentary Legal Department. The budget will be dispersed and will not be affected by appeals. So there's been some misunderstanding possibly about that out there. So check it out. That the Parliamentary Legal Committee confirmed on Sunday that the appeals for the decision to approve this year's budget schedules do not affect the date of the government's start of the dispersing the budget. So in other words, they're not going to need any more amendments or anything like that. The committee member Salim Al-Anbaki said in an interview, which is the statement was, the executive authority will proceed with the implementation of the approved budget in the current year and to transfer 2 billion dinars to add to those governance allocations and then start releasing these expenses to relevant authorities. Okay, they go on to say it towards the end. It says, I don't think there's a challenge, and even if there is a challenge, the budget will be dispersed because it was voted on and its subject was legally resolved. Just like we said, they had the budget was resolved in June of 2023 and allowed for the government to amend the budgets. And then all of a sudden, subsequently, we saw where they even stated that Rashid doesn't need to sign it, which is true because he doesn't. He doesn't need to have it. If he wants to sign it, obviously he probably could, but he doesn't need to. So as it states right now, it looks like that they have some legal things that are on the table as far as time frames. And some of those time frames are set time frames. And I understand that they have about 15 days for if in fact that Rashid, the president, doesn't sign it and it doesn't get posted in the Gazette, it will be, I think it's a 15-day window. So we can, rest assured that that's what these guys are saying, and it puts that to bed. So that's a good thing, very good. It says the European Union mission expresses its readiness to cooperate with the Iraqi banking sector. What you're going to see here today has been a lot of stuff about banking and support for Iraq, and for who? His Excellency, the Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Mohsen Al-Alak, received a delegation from the European Union mission headed by His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Thomas Seller in Baghdad. It says they pointed out the central bank is working to establish the Riyadh Bank, and we all know that that's been a big thing because it's going to be for the small, medium enterprises, and that's the backbone of any economy, especially a growing one. It says that the central bank is working to establish this bank specializing in financing small and medium enterprises in order to facilitate and develop credit capacity in consolidating loans with support and supervision from the central bank, financing from private banks, and seeking the expertise of international organizations in this field. Iraq has been reaching out for expertise. We know that they get that from the World Bank, the IMF, everybody that is in support of Iraq, and there's many. The governor focused on the bank's interest in strengthening and developing electronic payment systems. We saw that back in April, and we saw that at the end of April. The same with Al-Sudani's call in his timeframes. Electronic payment systems and internal and external electronic financial transfers, and developing supervisory practices in the field of combating money laundering in accordance with international standards. So this Mr. Seiler praises the central bank for the steps they've taken in the banking sector and the development of the economic stability, confronting difficulties and challenges, and basically is that the readiness for the European Union to provide support in joint cooperation in developing systems for expertise. So they're going to provide staff for the central bank if needed, in open areas of cooperation with the Iraqi and European banking sectors through official communication methods between them. RTGS, real-time gross settlements, all that kind of stuff is going to be real. They're on the same level playing field, same system, so they're going to have real communications, which is fascinating. So keep that in mind. The central bank organizes specialized courses for owners of exchange companies. I like this too. The central bank of Iraq in the Erbil branch organized specialized training course on the work of exchange and mediation companies in buying and selling foreign currencies. Interesting that they're doing that now. Basically, what are they talking about? You guys can come into Patreon, check this one out. But they're doing specialized training courses for exchange companies with regard to buying and selling the foreign currencies. They want companies to consolidate by merging exchange and brokerage houses and whatever going forward. The emphasis is about combating money laundering, terrorist financing, in accordance with requirements and controls that are in place for that mediation into buying and selling of foreign currencies. It's not surprising that they're doing this. Kind of like, to me, it looks like last minute touch-ups, but they're obviously focused because the central bank's very active, the European Union, etc. You're going to see whether the IMF is even talking. We're going to have some interesting stuff, and it's just kind of fast and furious, and they're doing a wonderful job. I think everybody knows that since Al-Sudani has teamed up with ALAC and the Ministerial Council of Economics, they had their 17th meeting today. They just have been showing the progress that you've never seen before. I don't care if you've been in this for 20 years. What we're seeing now is completely different, and it is a progression. And some people just don't like the progression; they just want it to be over and done. Well, welcome to the club. International Monetary Fund mission: we expect growth in the Iraqi economy. So here's the IMF out talking. The head of the International Monetary Fund mission in Iraq, Dr. Fazi Shubakat. I'm terrible, you guys, you know that. But anyway, he goes on. There's some questions being asked. It says the head of the mission asks him some following questions. What does the fund expect for the future of the Iraqi economy? And he goes on and answers a few of these questions. This one, the answer was, the fund expects growth in the Iraq macroeconomy in conjunction with reforms adopted by the government with the aim of creating realistic solutions in all economic problems. And we sensed serious from the Iraqi government in the field of achieving economic reforms that strengthen the relationship with the fund. So he's saying, we've noticed Iraq. Next one was, how does the fund support the Iraqi economy and what is the source of support? He goes on and says, Iraq relies on to cover its annual expenses, especially since a country like Iraq needs large revenues to cover the needs of all sectors and its needs to create real financial sustainability, reviving the productive and service sectors and bringing the capital cycle into context. So the private sector is what they're talking about. Next one was, what do you advise regarding reducing unemployment rates? Iraq must focus on the labor market, create advantages in the private sector equivalent to what obtains in the public sector so that employment can be directed towards the private sector, which will be activated within the limits of commensurate with Iraq's economic capabilities. So they're going to have to make an adjustment from the public sector jobs to the private sector jobs, and they all pretty much, everybody knows that. And finally, what about the financial sector? Competitiveness in the financial sector can create solid financial sector with advanced services, as we see in the electronic digital transformation, Rafidain banks, the branches, all that stuff. Safe, transparent money paths that support the economy in the stages of development it seeks and works to achieve and reaches the most important goals of financial sustainability. I think we can all see that if the IMF shows up, the central bank's been talking. They're talking about the central bank, and they're talking about the government and economic capabilities, this financial sustainability. I think the IMF has offered a lot of expertise in the last few years, and they have said that they will keep that ongoing in the future, just as the World Bank has, and I think the BIS has, the Bank of International Settlements. So they're implementing the comprehensive banking system for the Rafidain Bank in 29 branches. Rafidain Bank announced today, Monday, the implementation of comprehensive banking systems in 29 branches so far. They go on to say that the comprehensive system was activated in Baghdad and the governance, in addition to the branches of the broader border crossings, and they give 4 different spots, an important step to abandon paperwork and move completely towards electronic transformation. What I like about this is because I think if you guys go back into Patreon and you start to look for specific buzzwords, like I've told you before, it's quite simple, but you use the words like timing, time settings, things of that nature, specified time frames, which I'm going to show that tonight in brief. Here's one where it says the bank confirmed the plan for digital transformation and adoption of the comprehensive banking system is proceeding according to the time settings to include all branches in implementing the system, especially since one of the priorities of adoptions of government programs is electronic transformation in financial transactions and reducing red tape for citizens, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. The timing mechanism, it's Al-Sudani has been specifically talking about it. The WTO talked about timeframes. Al-Alaq has talked about timeframes. It's important to know that, and actually, because it takes a while sometimes. You can get into all the different articles over a long period of time and you forget all that stuff. But if you go back and look and you go back into a little bit of history, you can come back and paint that picture and say, oh my God, they actually have finished all these things. They were working in conjunction globally to get this done. So it's not just about Iraq, but it is about Iraq. It's about global interconnectivity, and one of the things that they're going to talk about when we've said it hammered at home, they're going to bring confidence to the world, and they're going to bring confidence to the international financial system. They're already a part of the global system. And we saw that when Allah kept up to his time frame. What did he say? He said they have time frames and specified. So Allah had said the same, Sudani said that he wanted to have the development road project, for instance, time frames for all these different things and projects to be sorted by April, the end of April. And he met that. So those time frames, he has met that. He didn't give us specific time frames, Al-Sudani, for the dinar to be stronger than the dollar, but he did say that to be careful about that to the citizens. He warned them. He said, this is what we're working on. And then that Delete the Zeros project. What is the Delete the Zeros project? It's off the exchange rate, not the currency, okay? So in the future it will, because they'll redenominate. But the bottom line was, Allah said in that statement that day on the 26th of July 2023, he says, my time. He says, in quotes, my time. So keep that in mind. So that's powerful stuff. This article says the corporate governance in Iraqi banks, enhancing transparency and efficiency. The corporate governance is one of the most important factors that contribute to enhancing the performance and the safety of the banking sector. So we're talking still about banking. By applying sound governance principles, banks can improve their efficiency and risk management, enhance investors' and customers' confidence. Wow, once again, word confidence. With support from the Central Bank of Iraq and Iraq Deposit Insurance Company, these efforts have contributed to improving the performance of the banking sector and increasing transparency, which has had a positive impact on the Iraqi economy in general. So everything's positive. Here they're giving examples of Singapore's experience. The field of corporate governance in the banking sector is an example that they're going to follow, or they have. The Monetary Authority of Singapore has implemented a set of stringent governance standards, including disclosure and transparency requirements. Kind of sounds like Iraq, right? Defining the responsibilities of the board of directors, executive management, and periodically evaluating banks' performance. They say that these efforts have made Singapore a global financial center with an excellent reputation for transparency and integrity. Sounds like where Iraq has been headed. We've been talking about that for years, that they may be what? They're going to bring confidence to the global financial system. They're going to be a financial mecca, if you will. So these efforts have made Singapore, again, the global financial center. The Iraqi Deposit Insurance Company can play a greater role in enhancing corporate governance if the banks, by encouraging banks to adopt international best standards and best practices in this field, providing training and guidance to members of the boards of directors and executive management. It can be said that the Iraqi Deposit Insurance Company represents an inspiring success story under very difficult circumstances, through its vital role in protecting depositors' funds and enhancing confidence in the banking system. I love that. The company contributes to building a strong and stable national economy. The Deposit Insurance Company promised to be an essential pillar in achieving sustainable economic development for Iraq. So those are the things that they're talking about, and it hasn't changed. So, hey, this one, the Ministerial Council of the Economy, the MCOE, decides to support the independence of the central bank in formulating monetary policy. And who's all inclusive of that? You guys should all know that the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they chaired their 17th session with the Ministerial Council of Ministry. That was Fawad Hussein, in the presence of the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Planning, the Ministries of Industry, Labor, Social Affairs, the Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, the Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, and his advisors, Prime Minister for Economic and Legal Affairs, and the Chairman of the Securities Commission. The MCOE is stacked with all the biggest players in Iraq, okay? So they had that today. And that's really important because they came into play as soon as al-Sudani got into office. All right, November 2022, I believe it was. They had their first meeting. It stated that they discussed the items on the agenda and took necessary decisions regarding those decisions. It hosted the head of the Finance Supervision Bureau and his deputy and the Director General of the Legal Department in the Bureau to study and evaluate partnership contracts between the public and private sectors. So these guys were additional people that were in line, and for what? For the legal side of things, they needed to be there, possibly to adjust contracts. Why? Because there's going to be big changes coming up. They're going to have to know how to disperse these funds and to do it properly and do it electronically. They're going to have a lot of things that are going on, and they're going to have a lot of people, because this is going to be a big event as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, they go on to say that the council continues. It's also decided to approve the recommendations of the committee formed to study the adoption of Iraq, the Gulf, or higher specifications when importing vehicles, They're talking about also with determining the contribution of foreign capital to Iraqi banks was discussed. So foreign capital coming into the country. So we're going to have to see what they decide on that, and I'll be looking for that in the future quite quickly probably. The council decided to support the independence of the central bank. So that's important too, because why? Because when the central bank makes an adjustment, it's on the central bank. It's their baby. It's not anybody else's. When it comes right down to foreign capital, currency, etc., Iraq is independent. The central bank is of the government. So it says the council decided to support the independence of the Central Bank of Iraq in formulating monetary policy in accordance with its applicable laws and instructions. Instructions are for what? Dispersing payments, etc. It's wonderful to see that. So again, all of this has been done over the last year and a half, and a lot of it has to deal with timing. And so when I talked about this, for instance, it says, regardless with disbursement, once the timed event is to take place, they told us today, which was today, the Raffidain Bank was effectively layering those 29 banks according to specific set timings. All right, here's another portion. It says this meeting witnessed, according to the statement by the media office of the council minister, a review of the progress of work and projects under construction and the extent of its conformity with what? Prepared timetables. Here's another one with Al-Alaq. Al-Alaq quotes, the rise in the exchange rate, my time. I quote, my time. And the project to delete the zero still exists. When? July 26, 2023. Here's another one. WTO, this line says, the Ministry of Trade, Athir Gureri, met in his office today, Wednesday, with experts of the United Nations Trade Center, the World Trade Organization, representatives of the World Food Program, the European Union. We already had one tonight about the European Union to discuss a formula for joint action to support the process of Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization. He points out that the ministry is responsible for the internal and external economic policy and continues to work with steps and programs to implement this within his ministerial curriculum and at specified times. At the specified times. I love that. Okay, lastly, I'm just going to say this. It says here that the time, June 20th, 2023, so we're talking, it was in the past, but they still had timetables. They say the main functions of the Information Technology and Payments Department, developing a program to qualify and train employees in the Information and Communications Department. So we talked about, they said they were supposed to have good communications, right? I mentioned that early on. Suggests that the programs, projects are necessary for the department manage them, to supervise the implementation of necessary plans to ensure the delivery with the timetable, the technical specifications, and the budget allocated to them. Time, calendars, budget, schedules. Okay. Follow up the projects for the other departments in terms of design and implementation stages, and to ensure the completion of projects within specified timelines. That's what Al-Sudani was talking about, specified timelines. Okay, last thing I'm going to say is that the interlinking for all intents and purposes for the banks have probably been ready because of what Al-Sudani did, Al-Alaq did, at or around the same time, within about a day of each other. Okay, so everything has been done for progress. And intense progress and purpose. The CBI shows that to be true, and why? Because on the April 29th, 2024, they proved that that 38-page document with all the real-time gross settlements data was published. That was at a time when they were talking with, I believe it was with Saudi Arabia, etc. But at the Arab Forum, okay, that's where Al-Alaq was. And then the next day, on the 30th of 2024, right on schedule, Al-Sudani launched the Development Road Project right on and within this time frame that was within April 2024, just like he said he would. So those are the things that we bring in Patreon, and we bring into the Discord chat room, and we have it all where you guys can search and relate. So I suggest, if you'd like, come on in and come see us, what we offer in Patreon and in our Discord chat room. We'd love to have everybody. Everybody's welcome. And thank you so much for being with me tonight. And again, if you like our content, always, of course, hit that subscribe button and likes, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.